And now for Candide by Voltaire. Like Molière, he added the Voltaire, François-Marie Arouet de Voltaire. Now, when he wrote it in 1758, this will become painfully obvious as you begin to read Candide. When he wrote it in 1758, he was 64, so he had already had the bulk of his literary career and all of his youthful fire and controversy behind him. So that left a lot of bitterness. At the time, he was living a productive, if not strenuous, retirement in Geneva as an old man, away from the attacks of church and state in France, whose wrath he had provoked through his career of lampooning and ridiculing their authoritarian rule with satire. So he actually got in more severe trouble than even Molière did. The troubles acquired while establishing his career and reputation include imprisonment in the Bastille twice, once on the mere suspicion of lampooning the regent and getting cudgeled at the orders of a courtier he had offended, and exile from Paris, just due to his terrible reputation. And along with these perhaps understandable reasons for bitterness and rancor, that is, hatred, Voltaire's study of history had also convinced him that Providence does not at all involve itself in human affairs because, well, world history is filled with so much suffering and atrocity. So he takes that idea of deism pretty far and keeps it very close to his heart. The problem addressed in Candide is human suffering. Voltaire had a big problem with the callousness and hopelessness espoused by the so-called optimism created by perverse understandings of the teachings of such optimistic philosophers as Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, who proclaimed that all is for the best. Now, the character of Dr. Pangloss in Candide is clearly based off of Leibniz, and Pangloss often says, very insensitively and very ignorantly in the face of those suffering terribly, "We live in the best possible world," very smugly adding insult to the injury of those suffering. Now the question, what perpetuates human suffering? Voltaire answers this: human complacency and human corruption. We have learned to take war, famine, and other horrors in remarkable stride. We just accept them as normal. And Voltaire's main tool throughout Candide is black or dark comedy, which you may also have known as cringe humor, sick humor, stuff like that. Now, black comedy or dark comedy is making light of taboo and inappropriate subjects to provoke discomfort, which leads to serious thought and consideration. It's a way of using comedy to sneak elephants in the room, right under your nose, right in your face, to where you are sort of tricked into having to address them and to talk about them. Voltaire's black comedy acts as a kind of guilty mirror for all humanity. And how he accomplishes this is by creating a certain tension through the design of the story. What you get is you have absurd, extreme exaggeration of suffering, that is, cartoonish suffering, intruded upon by suffering that is less cartoonish, less funny, more real, closer to home, intruded upon by true events, like the Lima and Lisbon earthquakes, and the 600 dispossessed kings, and, say, the atrocities committed by the Bulgars, which you will come upon. So that tension is between the outrageous, clearly unreal violence and rape and other atrocities and the far less even darkly funny examples that are a little more real world. So keep that tension, that particular design of black comedy in mind as you're reading through Candide to see just how Voltaire is going about accomplishing his ultimate aim. All right. Good luck on the discussion questions. See you next time.